Hello, Pedro. Could you please give an introduction about yourself?
Sure. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Pedro Diaz. I am from Miami, Florida, here in the United States. I've been in the real world since June of last year, and just excited for this opportunity, man. I want to thank you for giving me this platform to speak on, and also I want to thank the Tate brothers for putting the real world together, man. It's been a tremendous experience to say the least.
Love to hear that. So, something I'd like to begin with, which I usually don't begin with because of the circumstance. Why do you have such a professional looking setup? What's that about?
So man, here it's and I'm sure we're gonna get into this a little later in the interview, but this setup is we have it because I have a radio show, a Spanish radio show here in Miami, and sometimes that I can't make it to the actual studio. I do it here from my office studio, so I kind of have it set up this way for for those purposes. So hope that answers your question.
That is something we'll definitely get into later.
Yeah.
First, I'll go chronological order. So, what were you doing before you joined the real world?
So I'm gonna give you, the I guess the long-winded answer, Rokas. It's it's I right after high school, right? Just start from the jump, start from the very beginning, right? So after high school, I graduated high school in 2006, and after high school, man, my girlfriend at that time, which is now my wife, the mother of my three beautiful daughters, we started a marketing and advertising company, and then what ended up happening was, we were doing design, printing, websites, and all that stuff for small mom and pop businesses, and we were doing that. That went well. I graduated 2006, but then fast forward to 2009, I actually run for political office. A commissioner here in the city of Miami, where I'm from, and when I ran for office, I had a whole bunch of people reaching out to me. Hey, we could do, your design, your printing, your website, your signs, and all this stuff. Uh, and they were sending me prices, they'd send me proposals, and then those proposals and those estimates and invoices were just ridiculous, right? They were super expensive, and it was interesting because they were charging, I don't know, just to give you an example, $500 for maybe 5,000 postcards, when I would sell those same postcards to my small mom and pop businesses for maybe 150, $200. So then, after the election, I lost the election. Out of seven candidates, I was the youngest one, the one with the least amount of money, but I made a lot of connections. I saw how the process worked. So after the election, I sat down and I was like, man, these people that were reaching out to me to do the design, the printing, the websites, they do the same exact thing that my girlfriend or my wife or my girlfriend at that time do, right? The same marketing and advertising company, but their niche is political campaigns. So I was like, man, this is very interesting because again, I would have to go after several small mom and pop businesses to be able to make a decent amount of money, knocking on doors, calling and meeting with them and stuff like that. And then I was like, these people are just focusing on political campaigns. So it kind of like opened up my eyes and my perspective on it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start focusing on political campaigns. And so like that, instead of having three or four, 10 different small mom and pop clients, I could deal with one or two political campaigns and make the same amount of money, if not a little bit more. So that's how I got my foot in the door with political campaigns, man. I was actually reaching out to candidates running for political office, letting them know that I'm going to be able to, save them money on printing, postage, and all that stuff. And I was undercutting, the typical vendors in the political world, in the political realm, but I was still charging more than what I was charging or able to charge my small mom and pop businesses. So I was like, you know what, man, this is a no brainer. Let me just continue with this and continue providing these services to these candidates running for office. And after some time, man, I just didn't want to be known as Pedro the printer anymore. So basically, what I started doing was consulting and strategizing and developing the plan and the messaging for these candidates. And then what ended up happening was, I started that aspect of it. So yeah, we're still doing the design and the printing and all that stuff for the political campaigns, but we also kind of wanted to expand a little more into the more consulting, strategizing aspect of the campaigns. Then last year I've been following the Tate brothers for quite some time, and last year I kind of decided to make the jump and join the real world. It was June 2024, and I joined the real world. I joined a whole bunch of different campuses, man, because I wasn't really sure as to like what I could do or anything like that. So what I ended up doing was join the real world. I joined crypto and hustle, everything, all these different campuses until I found the AI one. And then when I found the AI and automation campus, I was like mind blown, because I was like, man, the stuff I'm learning here in the real world, the stuff that you guys are teaching in the real world, are things that I could implement and add on to my list of services that we're offering our political clients. So, for example, it's yes, we get a client, that wants to run for office. So let's just say, Rokas, you reach out, you're like, hey, Pedro, I want to run for mayor of my city. And I'm like, hey, Rokas, perfect, man. We got you. We're gonna design your logo. We're gonna design your postcards, your flyers, all that stuff. We're gonna do your website. And then what ends up happening with the real world, I was like, okay, cool. So now instead of, building websites with, I don't know, WordPress, right? Now we could build websites with bolt.dev, right? Or lovable.ai, right? Awesome. Perfect. It just cuts everything down. It cuts the time, the development time, in more than half. Then the other thing is we build your website, right? But then now what we're doing is adding these AI assistant chatbots onto your website. So like that, if somebody visits your website to learn more about your campaign and what you do and what you offer, or your stance on certain issues, instead of scrolling through your website, they could actually chat with the AI chatbot, and the AI chatbot will tell the user everything about your campaign. Right? They don't have to search for it on your website. They don't have to call your campaign headquarters to learn more about you. They could just chat with that AI agent. And now one thing that we're adding on to it is basically a fundraising feature. So once a user is actually chatting with that agent on your website to learn more about your campaign and so on and so forth, the AI agent is actually learning and says, okay, if Pedro is learning more about Rokas and wants to learn more about Rokas, let me ask these questions to qualify whether Pedro is going to be a supporter or not. If the AI agent determines that Pedro is going to be a supporter, it's going to say, hey, Pedro, thank you very much for your support for Rokas' campaign. Listen, if you want to support him even more, here's a link to contribute to his campaign. So not only is that AI agent basically letting voters know more about you and your campaign, but it's also encouraging and giving that little nudge to people that want to learn more about your campaign and supporters to commit to your campaign financially. So when I saw all this stuff that you could learn there in the real world, I was like, boom, okay, I could get this and use it and start adding it on to the services that we're currently offering our clients. And I'm sorry, I know that was a long answer, man, but I think I needed to kind of give everybody a little bit more perspective.
Yep, it's good to have that context. It's amazing that you went through all of that, and it gives me a lot to follow up on as well. Uh, so I think I'll go with the after joining the AI automation campus. I'm assuming that changed your offer then at that point. So in which case, how were you outreaching to clients after having joined the AI automation campus? Were you actually implementing the automated outreach methods? And what was your offer after you found out how you could leverage AI to what you do?
Yeah. So it's Rokas, it's we were it's a business, right? We have a business. It's myself and three other staff members. Well, my wife and three other staff members, so we're a total of five. So prior to joining the real world, we did have, or we still have, a CRM. And the CRM that we use is HubSpot. So we do spend a lot of money monthly to have HubSpot to make sure that staff and myself are all on the same page. HubSpot does offer a lot of these automations that I learned in the real world. But as I mentioned in a previous podcast with Pope, that I use that because we have staff, right, and we spend a lot of money on that CRM program. But Calendly, that you learn here on the AI campus, Calendly and oh my gosh, what was the other app? It was Instantly. Okay, what
Yeah,
you learn with Instantly and Calendly, those, if it's your one-man show and you're just starting off, those tools are perfect. It's those are perfect because those things offer Instantly and Calendly offer the same services that we use right now for HubSpot. So anybody listening to this podcast that's inside the real world or out, not inside the real world, Instantly and Calendly, they offer the same services that we have in HubSpot. If I didn't have staff, if I didn't have, to keep metrics and track my staff, I wouldn't be using HubSpot. I would be using Calendly and Instantly. So I would continue with Calendly and Instantly if you're just starting out or whatever. So to answer your question, our outreach, right? What we were doing is, man, is just getting a list of people that are running for office, inputting them into our CRM system, enrolling them into an email sequence. It's a five email sequence. So they'd be getting emails, for the next or five emails within, I think it's like 30 or 45 days, and in between those emails, we have phone calls to those clients, we have text messages to those clients, and we have social media outreach to those clients. So we're constantly touching these people. So not only are they getting an email from us, they're getting a call from us. If they don't answer the call, they're getting a voicemail from us. If they don't answer the call, they're getting a text message. They don't get the text message, they're getting a social media message on LinkedIn or Facebook. So we're constantly reaching out to these people, man, because it's what I've come to realize. It takes anywhere between 4 to 7 touches before we actually get somebody to say, "Hey, yes, I got your email, I got your message. Let's meet." So our goal is to basically fill our pipeline, man. We got to fill this pipeline with as many candidates as possible. And listen, we know that we fill our pipeline with 100 candidates that are running for office. We're only going to get about 7 to 10 people that schedule a presentation meeting with us, because our goal with that is to schedule a presentation meeting. Once we get a presentation meeting with these people, then out of those 7 to 10 people that schedule a presentation meeting, 2 or 3 of those are actually going to hire us. So it's all a little funnel, right? So we got to fill that pipeline with as many people as possible, continue the outreach. Out of those people, a certain amount are actually going to schedule a presentation meeting. A small percentage are going to schedule a presentation meeting, and out of those that schedule a presentation meeting, an even smaller percentage are actually going to come off and hire us. And what we do in that presentation meeting is tell them, listen, we could run your entire campaign, design, printing, this and that, whatever, but then we actually add on the AI and automation. For instance, social media automation. This is something that we started last year, and we sold a whole bunch of that. For these candidates running for office, a lot of them don't have a lot of money. So what we would end up doing is basically say, hey, we're going to take care of all your stuff, your entire campaign. But listen, you don't have enough resources to hire a social media manager. Listen, pay this $597, $497 a month, and we'll have AI post about your campaign, right? What does Roca stand for? What is he doing? When is election day? What do you got to do? Who do you got to, all that stuff. And so it's like all these things that I learned in the real world, social media automation, the chatbot integration. Listen, another big thing that we did last year where we made a lot of money on was these AI voice agents, outbound voice agents. So prior to being in the real world and learning these things, we would hire actual people to make phone calls on behalf of Rocas's campaign. Hey, listen, we're calling on behalf of Roca's campaign. Election day is tomorrow. Come out and vote. Yada yada yada. The thing with these people was sometimes they'd call, be like, "Hey, I can't come in to make these calls today. My cat died or my fish died. Right? I can't come in to make these calls." And then also they'd have to have breaks and so on and so forth. And I was paying them anywhere between $17 to $20 per hour. I came across the real world. I learned about voice flow and the AI agents, the outbound calls, and I was like, bro, mind blown, right? I can build an outbound phone agent to make calls on behalf of Rocas's campaign. They don't need a break. They don't care if their fish died. They're gonna come into work no matter what. And man, it was just all these things. I was like, okay, plugging him in. These are different. These are the services that we offer, or traditional services that we offer our campaigns. And I realized, I'm like, okay, these things I can start plugging into what we currently offer our clients, man. And it was just mind blowing.
Yeah, amazing. Wow. I mean, I keep saying amazing, but this is really cool how you implemented everything. And I want to go back to what you said about outreaching to the same person through multiple methods, whether it's email, Instagram, phone number, everything. People usually, when they're doing outreach, they just do one form and then they give up after one time.
Mm.
Maybe at most send one more follow up and that's it. And they think, this person doesn't want what I'm offering. I'm just going to move on. But in your case, you said yourself it takes maybe 4 or 5 times to outreach to that person until they then actually reply. So, what's the philosophy there behind actually targeting that person even more? Because some people might, I don't know, what would be the reasons for not doing it? I think they're thinking either one, it's better to try find another client instead of trying to outreach multiple times to one client, or maybe they think they don't want to flood the person. I think those would probably be the two reasons why they don't. So,
Yeah.
in your perspective, what do you have to say to that?
Listen, man, it's when I started off in the business, before I hired staff, like and even till this day, I still get on the phone and make the calls and do the text messages. And man, I even do little selfie videos, sending it to the clients through to their phones, like, hey, listen, this and that. And you got to get creative with it, man. Because what ends up happening is I was one of those people when I started off. I was like, I emailed this person, they didn't respond. And then it's like everything, man, just experience, right? Experience in the years. I came to realize, I'm like, hey, maybe my emails are going to spam, right? Let me try calling them. So I call them, right? They don't answer. Okay, so I leave a voicemail, and then you start thinking, okay, I emailed them, it might have went to spam. I called them, they didn't. I left them a voicemail, and I look at my phone, I'm like, man, I got 40 voicemails that I haven't heard, right? So I'm like, maybe they haven't heard my voicemail. So it's like continuous like that, and reaching out through social media. So what I started doing when I started the whole business was, yes, I was scared. I was like, I don't want to continue. I'm going to bug them. They're going to think that I'm desperate or whatever the case may be. But then I flipped my mentality of being like, hey, I'm bugging them or anything like that. I flipped my mentality and I changed my mentality of like, I was so sold, or I'm still sold, that if you're running for office, you are doing yourself a service by not hiring me or at least meeting with me. So I want to make sure that you have the right tools to make sure that you get elected. So it is my duty and my staff's duty to make sure that I am in front of you as many times as possible, because I believe that the only way that you're going to win is if you hire me, right? So I changed that perspective and I was like, you know what? We're going to continue calling. We're going to continue reaching out to these people until one, they say yes, or two, they say, stop calling me or I'm going to call the cops. Right. So that's what I tell my staff, man, because it's nonstop. You got to continue with the calls, the text messages, the social media messages. And it's just that whole thing works together. Lots of people say, which one works better? I've been part of different entrepreneur groups, and people are like, so from your experience, which one works better? Because they all just want that one thing that's gonna click, right? But there's some people that are better with email. There's some people that are better with text messages. Some people that are better with Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. So it's you have to just put it all together, man. It's not just that one thing that's gonna get everybody to come and want to buy from you or anything like that. So I think you have to get creative with different ways to do it. Look, one thing that I do for a lot of our clients is when we enroll them into this email sequence, um, and they get the email, we call them, we leave them a voicemail, we text them, and we send them social media messages, and we still haven't gotten anything. What I do is I have a pre-recorded video of me with my three daughters, and basically my three daughters are saying, hey, my daddy's trying to reach out to you, answer, call, this, that, whatever. So something cute, something funny. And that usually works probably about 70% of the time. They reach out, hey, that's cute, whatever. So you have to get creative, man, because people are busy. It's they have their lives going. They're either working, they're busy with work, they're busy with the families, they're cooking dinner, helping the kids with homework, whatever the case may be. So you have to find different ways to get in front of them. It's we live in a society where attention is everywhere. Everybody's focus is everywhere. Why? Because the internet, technology, X, social media, all this stuff, right? So you got to find ways to continue being in front of people. It's omnipresence, man. So whenever we reach out to people, we're hitting you up via email, text message, voicemail, social media, and so on and so forth. So to the people that are scared and think that, they're going to think I'm desperate, or I'm bothering them or anything like that, listen, that is your job, because guess what? The only way that they're going to buy from you is if they know who you are. If they don't know who you are, they're not going to. You could have the best product, man, the best product, or offer the best service, but if they don't know who the hell you are, they're not going to buy from you.
Yeah, very well said. Okay, so with everything you've implemented and everything you're doing, after having joined the real world, how much would you contribute earning because of the real world?
Yeah. So I actually posted this in it was, where was this? In the Money Wins, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in the Money Wins, in the AI campus, I actually shared it's excuse me. The reason I shared this, man, is not to brag or bloat or anything like that. It's just because the same way that I was hesitant to join the real world, I'm sure that there's millions of people across the world that are like, this is just a scam, whatever, right? I was like that. I was part of, like I said, several different entrepreneur groups, and and they help you, but they don't. They help you to a certain point because they don't want to see you doing better than them, right? So they'll help you out a little bit, but it's like after you get a little momentum and you start kind of getting the groove of things, it's like, all right, man, like calm down. So I thought the same thing with the real world, right? But it was completely wrong. It's you have so much value here in the real world, and I'm gonna answer your question right now. It's I shared this because I believe that, again, the same way that I believe that if you want to run for office, you want to win, you have to hire me because I'm the best. I believe that sharing this information, not if it helped me, and again, I didn't go to college or anything like that. I'm a dumb motherfucker, man, and I was able to do this. Anybody could do it, right? So I posted this in the Money Wins February this year, and I basically posted my tax return for the business, right? So 2024 taxes. I posted, I redacted obviously important information, but I shared that information there on the real world, so people could actually see that this shit works, bro. As long as you put in the work, it works. And in that tax return, it shows that I made last year, the business made $816,000. Right now, all that was not through the real world, okay? Because I joined the real world in June of 2024. Now, to answer your question, of those $816,000 that I made last year, the business made last year, it's not profit, guys. So don't it's that's all revenue. But out of all the 816,000 that the business made last year, I would venture to tell you about approximately 200,000 of that came from stuff that I learned in the real world, right? We have the services that we offer our clients, and what we did to make those 200,000 or close to 200,000 was, like I mentioned, yeah, we're going to build your website. But listen, for an extra 497 a month, 495 a month, we're going to give you a chat bot. Hey, you want to add on the fundraising feature? It's going to be an extra $150 a month. Hey, the phone banking, instead of having a live person, that gets tired, and the tonality of the person changes after being on the phone for X amount of hours, let me build you this AI chatbot that's going to call these people, let them know about your campaign, and so on and so. How much? Well, it's going to be $1,000 a month, $500 a month, depending on the campaign. So we were able to use the tools that we learn here in the real world to supplement basically what we do for these campaigns.
Yep, yep. Amazing. 200,000 attributed to the real world for a platform that you pay $50 per month for.
Yeah, and
So
and and I mentioned it there in the money wins that I am sure if I would have started the real world earlier, there's no reason why we wouldn't have broken $1 million. 200,000 again. We did 816. I joined in June of last year. There's no reason if I would have started this earlier. There's no reason that we wouldn't have done at least $1 million last year.
amazing. And then we haven't got into the radio host. How did that happen? How did it come about, and what are you doing for it?
So basically, it's here in Florida, we do campaigns throughout the entire state of Florida. So yeah, we have our office in South Florida. We also have an office in Central Florida. So here in Florida, we're very big. People know in the political world, people know who we are and stuff like that. So what ended up happening was last year, no, not last year, in 2023, yeah, quarter three or quarter four of 2023. They reach out to somebody reaches out to me. Hey, we're starting a Spanish radio show here in South Florida. Excuse me, here in South Florida, and want to give you a show because you're very knowledgeable when it comes to politics and this and that and whatever. So we've been doing this, or I've been doing this since I guess the radio station started in 2024, the beginning of 2024. But they presented me the idea quarter three or quarter four of 2023. So I've been doing this for about a year, and it's basically a Spanish radio show here in South Florida and Florida. You have a very large Hispanic population voter block. So what we do is basically talk about politics, current events, what's going on, and stuff like that. So been doing this for a year, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what we do for work. So like I mentioned, before when we were talking about the outreach, is omnipresence. It's omnipresence. I want to be, politics. When you think of politics, I want to make sure that you fucking think of Pedro Diaz and Diaz campaigns because this is my field. This is my space.
All right. And for future plans, then you just mentioned you want people to know who you are, if they think politics, to come to you. Is what else would you have to say for what you have planned for future? What goals you have if you split it up into short term, medium term, and long term?
Got it. So, goals that we have, man, is basically. So, are you talking about professional or personal?
Can do both.
Okay. So a professional is basically continue growing the business. Instead of only being here in the state of Florida, which I think that we've done a pretty good job at, is expanding to other states as well. Um, a and then personal is basically being able to and I always fall into this trap of working in the business as opposed to working on the business. So when you own a business, it's you kind of get caught in that trap of working in the business, like people calling you because they need something to get done, and then you're the one that does it, right? Instead of you working on the business and establishing and developing these systems and processes, so like that you don't have to do those things yourself. So I think using the tools that I have here in the real world, it's really going to allow me to develop a lot of, especially with AI, it's going to allow me to develop a lot of these systems and processes so I could actually take a step back from the business, spend more time with my family, maybe travel and stuff like that. But those are really the long term goals for personal and business. I guess it kind of works together, man. It's this is my business, my baby. I started with my wife, so it's I want to make sure that this is something that eventually when my daughters get older, this is something that they can take care of themselves. And I want to make sure that we have those systems and processes in place so they don't have to work in the business how I had to do it. They could just work on the business and continue to grow it.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. Okay, so now if people want to find out more about you or what you do, where could they contact you?
Yeah, man. So they could definitely reach out to me on X. I'm very active on X or Instagram. The handles are at Pedro R Diaz. It's both on X and Instagram at Pedro R Diaz.
Okay. So we'll add that to the description of the video. Yeah, Pedro, amazing story. Thank you for coming on and sharing it. Going from it's interesting how you actually went into the political space by other people reaching out to you and then you seeing the potential that's there. So really cool. And how much it scaled, like to almost 1 million in revenue. As you said, maybe if you had joined the real world earlier, you'd
Earlier,
maybe have,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
a
Listen,
million followers.
there's no reason, and I'm telling you, I started in June, and because I was hesitant, man, and I remember the podcast I did with Pope. I was like, man, I don't know if anybody, I didn't know if anybody outside the real world was gonna listen to the podcast with Pope, and I kept on saying, I'm like, listen, man, I was hesitant. I was hesitant to join the real world because I was like, it's another scam. $50, what value are you really gonna get? And as long as you make the jump, but the thing is, a lot of people and Pope was when I spoke with Pope, he was like, hey, you don't got to go into many details or anything like that about your systems, your process, what you guys do, your outreach, and all that stuff. And I told him, excuse me, I told him, I'm like, listen, man, I could tell you how to bake a cake, but people are not going to do it, right? People are just lazy. So if you invest the $50 and you don't do shit, you just sit on your hands. Obviously, you just fucking wasted $50. But now if you spend the $50 and you actually go in there, and again, I'm not one of these people that was on the training courses day in, day out, hours upon hours upon hours. No, I'd go in when I can, and just learn here, learn there. But the time that I did spend in there, like I fucking learned it, bro. Like I learned that shit. I practiced it over and over and over and over again. As long as you spend the $50 and you actually do the work, bro, you're gonna get those $50 and more and more very fast. So anybody that's really, thinking about it, it's like, nah, it's just a scam. Listen, they don't fucking pay me to say this shit. The business, there's no doubt in my mind that we would have crossed $1 million if I would have started the real world earlier.
Amazing. So yeah, as you say, this is you speaking from your heart, and I hope people can actually see that. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It's been great speaking to you, and I wish you all the best.
Awesome, Rokas. Thank you very much for the opportunity, man. Thank you. Thank everybody in the real world, the Tape Brothers, for putting this thing together, man. This was just amazing. So thank you very much for this opportunity, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.